Have you ever wondered why your passing threads don't quite sit as neatly as you'd like at the plunge point? Well, the secret is in the angle of the needle, and today I'll show you how. Hi everyone, my name's Sarah and welcome back to the studio. If you're new here, I'm so happy you found this sparkly little embroidery corner. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a really useful Goldwork technique, which is plunging our couch passing threads. We're going to cover how to do it neatly along a straight edge, a curved edge, and even through the centre of a shape. So what most people don't realise is that the angle of the needle makes all the difference. So today I'm going to walk you through how to get it just right. And if you love learning embroidery techniques, I also teach online courses in Goldwork, Jacobean and Whitework, where we explore these stitches in even more depth. But for now, grab your threads and a cup of tea and let's get started. So I'm going to show you how to plunge the ends now. Now, plunging of the ends and tying back should be done when a whole complete shape is finished. This one here, I've deliberately kept it unfinished so there's not as many threads to sort of get in the way of the camera shot. So to do our plunging, we are going to need our buttonhole thread. You can use buttonhole thread or an extra strong thread. That's what this is. So the Gutermann's extra strong thread is very much like buttonhole thread, but it's much easier to get hold of. We need about 20 centimetres of this. Any colour, it doesn't matter. You'll also need a number 22 chenille needle. Now, number 22 works fine for the number 6 passing that we are going to be plunging. If you're using a thicker, heavier thread like a Japanese, or you're using a bigger passing or a rococo or a twist or something like that, then you could go up to a number 20 chenille needle instead. So basically the needle width needs to be a fraction wider than the thread that you are going to be passing through the fabric. So than the thread that we've got here, so our number 6 passing, it needs to be a bit wider so that the hole it makes when you're taking the needle down is big enough to fit the gold through without damaging it. I'm going to take my buttonhole thread and I'm going to put both ends together. And I'm going to thread the ends through the eye of the needle, so 2 ends together. There, like that. So what you'll be left with is a little lasso at the end, or a little loop. And this loop acts as the eye of our needle. Now I'm going to start off with the straight edge first, because that's really the easiest one to do. Now remember, you guys want to make sure that your shape is completely finished before you do any plunging and tying back. Otherwise your threads can get in the way on the back if you still have to do extra stitching. So we're going to take these down through the fabric one by one. Okay, so we stitch them in pairs, but we actually plunge them singly. So the first one I want to plunge is this one here. And I'm going to just move these out of the way. I'm going to take my needle down straight on my design line there, like that. So the needle is going down straight 90 degrees to the fabric. We're going to pull that through so that we are left with our little loop on the surface of the fabric. We're then going to take our thread, our passing, or whatever thread that you are using, and we are going to take just the end through our loop there, like that. We're going to pull the loop down from underneath, and can you see I've just caught, move those out of the way, I've just caught the very end of my passing thread. Now we want to catch as little of the end as possible, so I've got about 2 millimeters of the end there, and the less you catch, the easier it is to pull through the fabric. I'm then going to wiggle from underneath. I'm pulling quite firmly, wiggle from underneath, and I'm going to pull it there, like that. Now I want to pull it tight enough and firm enough so that this passing is lying flat on my fabric. I don't want to pull it just a little bit, and then you can see there's a little bit looped up. Okay, I want to make sure that it's pulled flat on my fabric. I can then come in and do the next one in the same way. So again, needle is going to go down next to that one that we just did. I'm not using the same hole it's going next to, and the needle is coming down straight. So there I have my little loop. I'm just going to take the end of my next one. Remember, I'm only catching a very teeny tiny little bit, just a couple of millimeters to make it easier to pull through. Give it a little wiggle and pull through, and pull nice and firmly so it's flat on the fabric. And just pull those two together so that they're sat nicely next to one another. Now, what do you do if you need to unpick one, if you've put it in the wrong place initially? I would always say, if you have put it in the wrong place initially, try and unpick it as soon as you possibly can. So as soon as you notice that it's wrong, I wouldn't plunge all of them and then try and reposition it, because it is a bit tricky to pull out. But you can just take your needle and gently tease it out. You can see that one, as it was laying, was going just a fraction over to the left hand side. So it was probably just one grain line too far away. And you can see it's damaged a little bit. So if you don't have to unpick it, definitely don't. But you can see I'm just very gently teasing it out. And then when I've got enough to grab, I'll just use my fingers to pull that out. Now you might find that it unravels a little bit at the end. That's not the end of the world, but you can see it has damaged a little bit. If you're working with Japanese, it's very difficult to unpick without damaging it at all. So I would always try and avoid unpicking Japanese. But with this one here, we're just take it down again, but we've got to be gentle with it because obviously it's getting more worn, more damage. That's better now, that's lying straighter rather than sort of veering off to the left hand side. Sometimes you end up getting them too close to one another, and that's when your lines aren't straight. So do just watch out for that. So that's what your plunged ends should look like. Nice and flat against the fabric and nice and firm and not moving. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to plunge your internal threads. So this is the method you use when you've got any threads inside of your design line, not on the edge, any that you've got inside of your design that you need to plunge. What really is different about this one is the order in which you work it, and also the angle at which you take your needle down. The first one we're going to plunge is this one here, as it's the one sitting closest to the centre. If we started with this one at the end here, so closest to the edge, we're not going to have anything to angle in towards because these ones haven't been plunged yet. So we always want something to angle and tuck our needle underneath. So that's why it's best to start with the one closest to our centre point. Okay, so this is going to be the one first here. And you'll notice, because of the shape of the space that I have to fill and the shape of the gold, it's not always necessarily going to fill in perfect without any gaps at all. Okay, we're just trying to do the best we can without causing any lumps and bumps and things like that. So this is going to be my first one, and my needle all threaded up, I'm going to take down here like that. Now if I come down a little bit further there like that, I run the risk of starting to push these out of the way if I come too far in. Can you see when I put my needle in there, they move and spread apart? So that's a little bit too close. So we're going to just come just before this red stitch basically, and then that should be enough of a space. Now they will push open a little bit, but then when we pull our needle down, because our needle's a bit wider, it will close up again. So I'm just going to double check that. If I'm too far away here, I'm going to end up with a gap. So we want to try and avoid that as best as we can. So we'll go in here. And notice this time that the angle of my needle is not straight. When I did these ones here, my needle was taken down 90 degrees to the fabric. For this one here, I'm angling it in towards the previous piece, and it's at about 45 degrees. And what that does is it just tucks it in nicely in towards the center. I'm not going at an angle like this in towards the gold, or again like this in towards this gold here. I'm always following the direction of the gold, so it's running parallel with the direction of the gold, but I'm just angling it in closer in towards at 45 degrees my previous stitching. Same principles. We're going to take our loop, take our little end, give it a little wiggle. Now with this one we want to be super careful that we don't damage the gold either side, so do take your time and care with that one, and then pull it so it's nice and flat there like that. You can see the gap has closed up a little bit. We are left with a teeny tiny little gap. It's barely noticeable, and to be honest with the gold, that's one good thing about gold, is it's quite forgiving. Because it's so sparkly, it detracts your eye. So the next one I want to do, once we've plunged that first one, is the next one along, and that's going to be this one, because it's just a fraction further up than that one. So we'll do this one next. Again, needle in as close as we can without going through our gold or damaging anything. Needle is angling with the run of the gold, and it's going down at 45 degrees. Pull our little loop through. Take our thread, just the teeny tiny end bit, and then carefully pull it through and pull it so that it's nice and flat on our fabric surface and not lifting up. And there's our second one. Our next one is this one, and this is actually going to be angled in towards the piece that we've just plunged actually. So again, taking that needle down, catching the little end, giving it a firm wiggle from underneath, and then pulling through. So there's all our ends plunged, ready to tie back. So I've got 4 rows in. Obviously you wouldn't do your plunging until you had your complete shaped field, but I'm going to show you how to plunge along a curved edge, and this technique would be the same technique you'd use for many different styles of curved edges. With the plunging on this one, we want to start at our longest edge because we need to angle the needle in towards something. If I was to say, let's say we'd filled it in and had a row here, if I was to start with this one here, I wouldn't have anything to plunge and angle my needle into. So it's important that we start along the longest edge. Now with our first one, we want to make sure we come over the edge of the felt as well. So I'm kind of showing you 2 techniques in one here. And I'm going to come just a little bit beyond the felt padding for this one. There, like that. So I'm extending it slightly further along from the edge of the padding to help maintain a nice sharp point. With this one, I'm going to take my needle down straight, 90 degrees to my fabric. Take my little loop, pull down over my thread. Remember, just one at a time, using the same lasso method as our previous plunging. Now with the next one, it's going to be that one there. And for this one, we are just going to angle the needle along with the edge of the felt padding. So can you see my needle here is running parallel to the edge of my felt padding? And I'm just going to tuck it in ever so slightly. I don't want to get too close. Don't want to be using the same hole, which I'm not. I'm going to go there like that. The needle is running parallel with the padding. It's also angled at 45 degrees to the fabric. So you know the last one I brought straight like that? This one, we're angling it in towards the previous piece. Needle down at 45-ish degrees. We take our little loop, little end through our loop. Again, just catch the very end to make it easier to pull through. Give it a wiggle and then pull down there like that. We'll come in now and do the next one. So again, needle running parallel with the padding, angling it in towards the previous piece on the outside edge of the felt. I'm not taking my needle down through the felt, I'm going outside the edge of the felt through the fabric only. And by angling our needle at this angle and following the curve of the padding, we're able to create a nice, clean, crisp edge. Again, pull nice and firmly on your passings. We'll do the next one, again, angling it in. If you take your needle too steep at angle, so it's flatter in comparison with the fabric, if you do that, then you can end up going through the gold on the back. So you want to try and avoid that. Make sure you don't take the needle down at too steep an angle. You're looking for somewhere in between 45 degrees and 60 degrees with the fabric as a guide. So this is your method for working and plunging along a curve and along the edge of felt. So the angle of your needle is really important. It's what determines how neat your edge is, along of course with the placement of the needle as well. So this will be the last one I do. So that is your nice, clean, crisp, neat edge. Thanks so much for stitching along with me today. I hope you're feeling a little bit more confident and braver about plunging those passing threads now. If you'd like to keep exploring Goldwork, I've got something really exciting coming soon, my brand new self-paced Goldwork course. We're launching at the end of October and it's designed so that you can learn in your own time at your own pace. And the videos go into even more detail than these YouTube clips that we've got. The aim is to really build your confidence and skill with each of the techniques. So if that's something you're interested in, you can hit the link in the description below, which will take you to the waitlist. In the meantime, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the tutorials leading up to it. Happy stitching, and I'll see you next time.